Hello and welcome to Eros Revolution. I am Maya and this is Aubrey. And today our topic is the lost art of flirting.
The Egyptians believed the most significant thing you could do in your life was die.
Wait, there's one more. There's one more. She's got it coming.
I feel like attraction is.
Take me, Garth.
Where? I'm low on gas and you need a jacket.
I'm gonna be frank.
Okay, can I still be Garth?
Welcome to the lost art of flirting. Those were our two examples of what you might experience now in this day and age of what flirting is like these days. And so we wanted to really talk about that and talk about what's happened and what we can do about the situation. So to start, I would love, Aubrey, to start with just what is flirting? How would you describe it? What is the experience of it? What is the mechanism of it? Lay it out for us.
Okay, so flirting is when you intentionally say something different from how you actually feel for the purpose of engaging with someone in really with the playing with erotic energy with someone. And so in order to flirt successfully, whether it's a simple flirtation or a very complex, long one or whatever, the essential ingredient is that you have to be aware of two levels, at least two levels. And one is what is overtly happening on the surface and what's being said out of the two people's mouths. And then what's happening energetically underneath and in that exchange and what you're doing on each level.
Yeah, that's great. I love just the whole hour before we do these talks, we start thinking about it and really talking about our own experiences, talking about the failures and the successes, and really thinking about how flirting has occurred for us as erotic women in our life. And so the place that we want to start is kind of where we feel that the society has come to now, which is that it has lost this art. It has lost this art of flirting and why that is. And so to start that conversation, we have a video from social media on the lost art of flirting, and then we will give our commentary.
Maybe. We're thinking about it.
Yeah, we're thinking about
We're
showing you a
teasing
video.
We might show you a video. We might not. Oh, yes.
People don't flirt anymore because people are slow. Okay? Let's just call it what it is. All right? The flirting levels are directly proportional to the literacy levels. That's just what it is. You try to flirt with people and they try to calibrate. What do you mean? What you mean? Everywhere you go. All right? I was talking to this girl the other day. She said she's a traveler. She loves to travel. I said, okay, let me be a flight attendant. She said, but I thought you said you were an artist. I said, what you mean? Catch up, baby girl. I was talking to another girl before, and she said she's religious. I said, show me where to worship at, and I'll do it. And she said, wait, I don't even know what religion you are. I said, whoa. Keep up. I was talking to another girl. She said, I got here before you. You're late. I said, no. Maybe I like to put you before me. That's why you're here, because I like to put you first. She said, huh? What you mean? I said, catch up. That's what you say, I don't know, I hope we're here last. You know, find something. Think fast. Because y'all want to put this blame on men only. It's not only men. It's not only men. Oh, men don't know how to flirt. Women, no, men and women have lost the art. All
That's
right?
good.
Even when I try to make it simple.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right, break it down.
Okay. Okay, well, his theory was, did he say what he thought, why it was lost?
He said we're slow.
We're slow, right? He said we're slow. I'm slow. But okay, why are we slow? So my theory is, and this is basically why I want to bring up this topic today, because in these talks, and like in a lot of the talks that we do in our classes and everything, a lot of what you begin to see is what this arena of life looks like with no Eros, and what this arena of life looks like with no Eros. What is, um, what does politics look like with no Eros? What does man-woman relating look like with no Eros? What does journalism look like with no Eros, And so this is kind of what the world of like conversation and the thing that used to be the art of flirting and the art of conversing and play and that kind of thing. This is what it begins to look like without Eros. This is my theory. And so he's, in my opinion, he's having memories of 3 different women who don't seem to have a particular connection to their erotic being. I mean, I can't say for sure, but but based on their, replies, it feels like they don't have a particular connection with it, or they don't trust it in a certain way. I've been this woman. I have answered flirtations like that. Usually when I'm doing it, this is the thing you have to really remember about women too, is that 99.9% of the time we actually know what we're doing. And so if we answer that way, it's because we don't want to make the effort, or we don't like want to connect the dots, or we're just being kind of like lazy, or more often we want to be perceived as kind of dumb or a little bit confused, or like a little bit like cute bunny in the headlights, because then we begin to create this identity that will have you relate to us in a particular way that's like kind of small, cute, and fragile. And there's a whole bunch of covert benefits to that we could spend 17 episodes on. But but those women, like, it's not necessarily that you're not picking up. I mean, you feel something, but you'd have to be connected to your erotic being as a woman to like play back and to offer something back, and to pick up on it right away, and to be able to respond quickly, because you are more interested in engaging with the moment with everything you got than having attention on building out some identity back here that's going to have the person you're talking to perceive you in a particular way and look at you in a particular way, and all your attention is on that. And none of it is on just engaging in the moment, like for fun. And I think that is something really cool about flirting. I was thinking when you were talking earlier, I was like, oh yeah, when I'm really on and connected to the Eros in my body, and I'm like the most turned on and happy, I'm basically flirting all the time, like with everyone. Like that's just almost the erotic style of communication. And maybe it's because it's like first generation thought, there's something about it that requires you to be totally present and kind of give everything you've got in the moment, and take your attention off all the different places, well, just off yourself, but like off the places where you're trying to like, create, where you're paying more attention to how you're perceived than how to have fun in the moment, and how to be connected, and how to play.
And so what do you think has led us to this place? Why, as a culture, are we disconnected from our ability to flirt?
It's just another, it's just lack of Eros, like there's that one Eros Sutra that's the presence or absence of Eros. And it's kind of just a list almost of, this is what it looks like without Eros. This is what it looks like with Eros, I keep thinking of the trauma one. Like there's the whole trauma industrial complex exists because of a lack of Eros and a lack of connection to the body. Therefore, because if you have that and you have that vitality flowing, you experience traumatic things, and then you bring a bunch of blood flow basically to that spot in all the different ways, and you genuinely heal from it, genuinely restore from it. And because due to the lack of Eros, you never heal from it and you just live traumatized and then talk about it all the time and make everybody treat you like an eternal victim of trauma. And then there's a whole industrial complex and, parasitic thing that exists that feeds off of that and sells all these products to people and everything eternally, by keeping them in that place. And that's kind of how it is in every single arena that you look at, and so this is just another one. It's like it's like sad beige conversations with no Eros. We are safe, but we are bored. Like and then you're not even safe, really. It's actually really endangering to do that is another thing that I feel like we're beginning to see more and more, because Eros is the thing that bestows meaning in life and a sense of like purpose, connection, color. Like it's like literally the color and the meaning that is that life like is in essence. And so without it, or when you're low on it, or you strip it entirely out of things or suppress it, people go crazy, genuinely crazy, as they would. Like it's, if your life feels like it has no meaning and everywhere you look, everything's just reinforcing that it shouldn't have meaning, then what the hell do you do but go insane, And then that insanity looks quite a variety of different ways that we all get to see in the news cycle all the time.
And so if you were to say, okay, so like the modern malady of the lack of flirting, how would you describe the ways in which it shows up now for men and women? The lost art.
Well, there's two immediate thoughts came to mind. It was just like the lack of it and kind of trying to put words to but then also the indomitable human spirit and where it is still peeking through, because humanity won't quit. But I would say, well, one of the things we talked about was like dating apps and the impact that that's had on it, and you said this cool thing about how, well, once you match, it's like there's no need to do a ton of extra after that. And you would even think of it maybe as extra because you matched, you admitted you liked each other, like we're done, right? And, for an erotic person, that is clearly where you begin. And that's nothing, that's just the initial connection point. And so I think one place I see it a lot is in dating apps. There's that feeling like there's been, oh my God, countless times where I've been in a dating app situation and talking to somebody, and they get all of their preliminary, like you can tell they have like a checklist of preliminary questions about like, what area of the city do you live in? What are you into? What are your hobbies? Do you have any food spots that you like? I don't know, whatever. They have like their particular, what do you do? They have their particular list of questions where they're trying to get a sense of the general shape of like your life and you and how convenient it might be to like come see you and whatever. And then they get to the end of that, like I'll answer, I'm like, waiting, And then we get to the end of that and they're like, okay, cool. So when do you want to meet? And I'm like, okay, cool. So when do you want to show me what you got? When do you want to banter? Because that's what I need, my to-do list in this conversation. We have not even begun to check off my various things that I need to know before I would bother to spend any time on you. And so it's kind of like that. I feel like that happens quite a bit, and then every now and then you meet someone who, well, there's a couple types. There's a really rare one who has any skill with flirting whatsoever, and that's really fun. And then there's one that's really sweet that actually I'm quite partial to, that I find adorable, which is like zero skill whatsoever, but so much enthusiasm and willingness. They're like, have no tools, but they are doing their absolute damnedest to show up and just figure it out, and it's like, it's actually almost even more endearing than the one that just knows what they're doing, so.
Yeah, the thing. So for me, flirting is like always an activation of heat within the other person. So you're saying, okay, how do I communicate in any way, either communication verbally, through body language, through the silence and the way that you speak, through an action, anything like that. How is a communication being made that then will increase the heat in the other person's body? And I just don't think people even conceive of it that way. And they don't conceive of that as the goal. And they don't conceive of that as the goal because there's a lack of Eros in the culture now, and there's a fear of Eros between people. And so when there's a fear of Eros, there's a fear of creating heat. Always a desire, I think, instinctually, and there's the fear of it as well. And so the things that you, and so then the default settings that you get in the culture then are things like lines, pickup lines,
Pickup culture in general.
pickup culture in general. There's an incredible, we don't have it to show, but it came to my mind. There's this incredible series recently that I've been looking at with my friends of like memes of pickup artists, and like the talk of like, I'm a high value man. What are you bringing to the table? Oh, tell me your body count. Oh, it's 3? Well, that is just, you're a used woman, and so then that's kind of like a kind of the other end of men who don't know how to turn a woman on, men who don't know how to actually flirt into a woman. Then what that whole genre of man is doing is dominance and just trying to acquire, or just trying to like take it without actually earning the heat. And it's mimicking maybe something that would turn a woman on, though it's not coming from an actual place of what would turn a woman on, which is attention, and which is the skill to actually be able to, if say some kind of strength or something in a man is what turned her on, then that's what he would be doing, but this is the mimic of that. And then, so there's that, and then there's lines that they say. And really, just I find with a lot of men, they're so scared of the infraction of creating heat that they will stay so safe in a conversation to the point that then the chances of actually getting something. A woman has, say if you're on a dating app, you presumably are there because you want heat, but then there's so much fear in the culture about it right now that then they totally miss their chance because they're afraid of the consequence of creating heat in her. And so why might that be? And there's many reasons, but one of the reasons of why might that be is for this video that we will show you next, from a popular TV show called Upload that came out a few years ago. This is a scene from that.
It's a lot less based on factors that you cannot.
Did you bring protection? I consent to this.
I consent to this.
So that is from the TV show Upload. And so the scene of what they're showing is a camera device that they have to wear on them through their entire intimate experience to upload to a, in that case, I think it's to some like social network or like a dating app there that's saying that they're consenting to the entire experience, that, and then it stays on or something like that. And so if you want to explain a little bit more about that.
Oh, sure. Well, it's funny because the normally I just realized kind of that consent is, I feel like, a feminine, it's like what's that quote where you don't want, it's not that you want too much, it's that you want too little, something
Don't
like
want
that.
enough.
You don't want enough.
Mhm.
It's like that. It's like a feminine solution to the desire for a stroke by stroke, I'm using orgasmic meditation language, but like a moment by moment exquisite attention experience with someone. It's like a substitute for that. I think I've realized this before, but it's been a while. And it's not enough. Do you know what I mean? It's not that there's anything wrong with consent. It's that it's like a just a shadow of the thing that we really are craving. And it kind of came to be like this. I mean, Me Too has been a huge influence on how it's come to be like this. I did a little deep dive. I was struck by how many articles came out in 2018 when Me Too was going really strong, that I never saw at that time. Like in my algorithm bubble, it was just all the canceling people. It was just all of the people getting fired and, all of the canceling people and the kind of like town mob on the internet with pitchforks and torches in the streets, just firing everybody. And I saw all these really cool articles kind of questioning it and being like, is this doing this? Do we really want no flirting in the workplace? I mean, it's pretty boring at work. Do we want zero flirting? Like all of these kind of nuanced articles and stuff that I had never seen before. And I was like, damn, these got really shoved down the algorithm list, but I was thinking that it's like I've said this before in a couple different videos, but I really do think at first there was a cool thing that Me Too wanted to do. At first, it felt like women coming out from beneath some kind of like holding of people's secrets or something like that. And, kind of handing them back and being like, I don't want to hold this anymore, And then it fairly quickly devolved into, just this firing squad of accusations in all directions in order to get attention or in order to, like get someone fired in order in a lot of cases to, make money and sue people and stuff like that, which then devolved further to, however amount of lying that there's been in order to do all those same things too. And, I hate that thing, believe all women. I really do. It's like, no, we did at one point have a functioning justice system in order to sort those types of things out, regardless of gender. Anyways, another one we could have 17 episodes on. But so Me Too, I think, really had a pretty big impact on just like sexuality in the culture. Introducing, like the idea of having more consent in sex. Okay, that alone, it doesn't kill it. But there was some kind of terror that it installed in everyone. And you would think, like the most sort of gung-ho women of the movement would easily say, like, it only the men, not the women. It made the women feel safer. But I don't think it did. I don't think it made the women feel safer. And I don't think it made anything have more meaning or bring out more power or create more intimacy or any of the things that we actually crave the most deeply. In fact, some of those things you can't feel 100% secure and perfectly safe in order to even access. Like, I think there's been studies done that to feel a sense of intimacy, you actually have to also feel simultaneously at least a bit of a sense of risk because you're being vulnerable and exposed, and it's inherently not entirely safe to be intimate. And so to get access to that, you can't just lock everything down. And so, yeah, Me Too was definitely a big part of it. I also, when I was thinking about this episode and thinking about flirting and everything, another part I think is like just the loss of our attention to screens. I know it's ironic because we're all looking at a screen right now, but the loss of attention to, overusing, like over watching things, over entertaining ourselves and numbing ourselves with these different things. And then the kind of like drained feeling of like all of it, then contributing to a consumption of comforts to try to make it feel better. And that is also a place where you lose Eros. I mean, like shaming sexuality, convincing convincing themselves at this point that they don't have any power, and men affirming that. And then comforts, like an overabundance of like kind of drained energy with a lot of comforts piled on top. All of that stuff really cuts off Eros. And yeah, I mean, do I feel like Me Too is the only? No, definitely not. I think there's a variety of influences, but that was a really big one. I have felt and seen such a shift in the world after that in a direction that I don't think anyone wants to go.
I think the other thing with Me Too is that so it got the conversation to consent, but it never took the conversation to desire. And so everyone is stuck at the agreement to engage, and no one knows what to do after that.
Everyone's obsessed with that part,
Right.
and then we're losing the art of everything that comes after that,
Right.
like flirting, like conversation, like relating.
Right. And there's something, and I'm curious what you think because you are more in this world, but then it's like also then the relationship between that and how high fantasy is now and how high fantasy books are now, where
I don't have the statistics for this, but my theory is that as much like as many articles and commentary and all kinds of things that have to do with men and porn and watching porn, it is just as high, probably even higher with women with like romance books, romantasy books, smut books. I bet you.
And so talk more about this and this and the relationship between this and flirting. Men in porn, women in fantasy books, romance books, and then their inability and the lost art of flirting.
I mean, I think we're losing the art of like engaging actively with life in the moment. And flirting, that is what that is, you know? Flirting is one of those things that is a medium of that. And so I think we're really losing access to like engaging generously and fully for the sake of play in the moment, you know? And then we're kind of so then we go to all of these things that are like a mimic, like a really sad mimic of what that feeling would feel like that actually hits the spot. And one of them is men's porn and women's porn and the versions of that they go into and the fantasy world of that they go into. And so it's kind of just like it occurred like once you start to lose that passion for the moment and being in the moment and that the passion even for the effort that it takes to do it, because the effort that it takes is actually really pleasurable as well when you're inside of it. You're like, yes, I want to spend on this. I want to spend all my energy on just being in the moment and like generously offering and playing, you know, like that's actually a regenerative activity. It's not draining at all. It's you're both emptying out and filling at the same time, which is a signature and hallmark of Eros. That's what having Eros in your body feels like. That's like one of its deepest signatures. But what happens is when you get disconnected from that desire to show up like that in the moment, you'll like outsource, I think is the word, you'll go to the shadow things that are not the thing, that have like the tiniest feeling that of it gets reduced to like entertainment or, you know, kind of, it's just these sad substitutes for that. But they're a lot easier to the mind. Like they're not easier. That's what I want to be clear on. They're actually not easier. They actually cost a lot and they take a lot and they're not generative at all, but they seem easier to the mind. And the mind will be like, I don't know, living in the moment sounds really difficult. And just like laying there masturbating while I watch porn sounds much easier than figuring out and leaning into socially engaging with the gender of my choice, you know, and figuring out how to flirt and play and blushing bright red because I made a terrible misstep and embarrassed myself in front of 8 people, you know, whatever, right? Like that sounds terrifying to the mind, to the tumescent mind. Hannah, post a good tumescent sutra in the chat or something. Or post the volume maybe in the chat. But it sounds like really like work, you know, to the mind. Whereas just sort of collapsing into these sort of consumptive places sounds a lot easier. But it is the opposite. It really is the opposite.
And then with that, we will go to our next video, which is as we turn into the solution. How do we reclaim the art of flirting?
Yeah, if you guys thought we were just going to leave you there.
Have no fear.
We have hope.
Control, like your height, and much more. I feel like attraction is a lot less based on factors that you cannot control, like your height, and much more based on your sense of play, how good you are at playing. And playing is one of those intangible elements about a person that can never really come through in an image, like someone's scent, or their laugh, or the way that they carry themselves. It's about how delightful you are to be around. Do people want the conversation with you to keep on going, even after one of you has to leave? Does it feel like you are a delight to be around? It's about levity, but it's also about how hard you commit to the bit. Playing is completely serious. A serious player in a game will be completely curious and completely responsive to every single thing that you're doing. And that's what makes a good rally. When you feel like you're being addressed. Everything that you're saying,
Hannah.
everything that you're doing is being noticed.
Thank you. And then that one, okay, there's that one, but there's also this other one that's really funny, the consensual flirting one, which before you play it, you can leave his face there, but before you play it, this one's so cute, but it's like, basically Maya was like, but there's glimmers, right? Like there's like people, this is going to sound really dramatic, you guys, but this is how it sounds in my head. Under the oppressive regime of a lack of Eros that many of us live underneath in this world and culture, there's these glimmers of delightful hope, and people are making it work. They're figuring it out. There's the weight of having to consider the potential outcome of every single time you say anything to a woman, and will she like me too you down the line and just make up a story about you, is like all these things, right? And there's like kind of a weight feeling, and then there's just the people who are like, I'm gonna make the best of it.
My favorite thing to say to a girl, you know what I'm saying, to start flirting, is you just gotta ask her, bro, like, you trying to flirt? And if she says yes, bro, then you guys are flirting, bro. It's confirmed.
It's the cutest thing I've ever seen. And so it won't, this is where the you know, hope, the like the beauty of humanity, it really is. You know, a lot of these videos are really funny, and there's a lot of really funny aspects to this talk, but I really think the thing that touches me the most about it is like there is just such a powerful nature, the nature of Eros, the nature of what it is to be human, like that glimmer of something, you know, like no matter what, no matter how rough it feels sometimes, you know, like no matter what we're all working with or wrestling with or how challenging it is, like there's this sweetness and this power to the spirit of humanity that just keeps going. It keeps coming out, and it's like, I'm gonna find a way. And for some reason, that adorable dude just really embodied that for me.
So then from here, let's talk about so now the art of flirting and actually how to reinstate it, how it actually does exist. And so based off of her talk and her talk of play and what makes a good player, which is the setup to what we are about to talk about, how do you reinstate the art of flirting?
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, and so that other video, I love her so much. If any of you are social media enthusiasts, follow her. She's amazing. I can't remember her name. Hannah, maybe put her well, profile link in the chat or something because she's so subtly brilliant. I've so rarely come across anything like her. She strikes me as totally erotic. I don't know what she's doing with her life, but she's totally connected to Eros in some way. Um, so I think that it genuinely always comes back to reconnecting with your Eros, your arousal, your body. Um, it's coming down out of the world of ideas and screens and all the things and the challenges of the world and the pain and the even the on that side of it, and then even the like um ambition and the reaching for something and the like running towards some, like all of that. It's like coming out of the world of ideas back down into the body and like humbling oneself enough to reconnect with one's desire. That's always how to get back to Eros. You reconnect to your body and you reconnect to your desire. And they're usually aligned in some cool way that you're that is always there to be discovered in the moment. And so it's it's like whenever it feels like something's missing, whenever it feels like there's a lost art of something, whenever it feels like it's too much, whenever it feels like it's too beige, too boring, where you feel drained or you feel kind of disconnected or you feel lonely or you feel a little bit like on overdrive or kind of manic or that kind of thing. All of those are just signals that you're just too far up into the world of ideas and it's time to come back down into the body and it's time to reconnect with very simple. When I say reconnect with your desire, it's like you always start really simple. They're going to be like simple body-based things. And then you kind of go from there. Like the body is actually so brilliant. The body is so wise and so brilliant and sentient in its whole own way. And just even considering the idea for yourself, what does it mean to come out of my mind a little bit more and down into my body, and how would I like to do that? That alone, the body begins to respond quite enthusiastically towards you. You'll notice, like she, I want to call her she in this moment for everyone, everybody in this moment. We're just gonna call your body she. She's like, oh, they're thinking of me. They might come home. Oh my God, I would be so excited to like feel them come home. Like that's how the body responds to us. And sometimes we've been away so long that there's some things going on with her that need attention, that have been ignored. And so that can make it feel like I don't want to go, I don't want to come down into my body. But even then, she's still like so loving. Like you could be like sick or injured or something, and she's just like, "Hi, I'm a little fucked up right now, but I'm so happy you're here." And there's this beautiful sutra called consciousness and the body in communion feels like unconditional love. And that's really what it's like. It's like this whole kind of upper register part of your being returning home into this lower register part of your being, and then this resonance occurring that feels like an emanation of unconditional love. And you can have it really anytime. You can have it anytime, and then you become a beacon of that in the world.
That was so beautiful. Then I'm thinking for the men or women who are listening, who are like, love that. That sounds so great. How does that help me flirt? Break it down. So from there, from them being like, okay, cool, I will listen to my body. How do I flirt now? And then I think it's different for men and women. And so how would you say for each, and what would the differences be? And
Yeah, I think for me specifically, this example might help you guys too. When I'm up in my head a lot, I'm kind of floating through the world like, kind of getting to wherever I'm going. I'm like my aim and my time, I'm picturing myself walking around New York City and I'm like, okay, I need to stop here, here, and then this is where I'm ending up. And I'm generally fairly aimed and I'm interacting with people as necessary. I'm not being rude, but I'm not engaging with anyone in that way where I can feel like a visceral sense of connection to anyone. I'm just kind of like, I've got my mission, I'm going. And when I'm actually in my body, it's not like I end up, it doesn't take any more time. Like, it's not like it actually, because that's one of the things the mind will do is convince you that it takes more time to be in the body and that it's slower and you can't afford that time, but that's a lie. Another thing we could spend 17 episodes on. But it doesn't take any more time. It just kind of has this feeling like my pores are a little more open to the world. And I actually will look people in the eye when I'm, like I'm buying a coffee or something like that. And I'll take the time to viscerally connect with the person for just a second and be like, thank you, and mean it when I say it, not like we're going through the motions of a commerce exchange. Okay, great. Have a nice day. Goodbye. But like, I'll stop and feel the moment where I take the drink and say, thank you to you, a human who has as complicated and nuanced of a life as I do. And guess what? When you act like that in the world, just end up flirting. Like, you end up in situations where you begin to have the opportunity to flirt because you're physically open, like your body actually feels like open to people. And so they notice that. They really notice that. This is one of the things I love about living in Harlem, because Harlem feels very like communal in a certain way. And there's a way that if you're more of a feeler type person, you can really breathe here. And so when I am closed, people leave me alone. If I'm open, they're like, it really registers. Like, people here really notice. Like, they're like, oh, you're welcome, or like, oh, or whatever. It's like, it creates all of these possibilities. And it doesn't have to just be strangers. Then I arrived where I'm going, this center where we work at and everything. And I experience, our friends completely differently than I would if I was just like, need to get to laptop to do work. Okay, having a meeting with these people, so like I'll let them into my bubble, but that's it, And then it's like I know who's over there across the room, they're doing their thing, we're fine and separate, and then it's like I become just genuinely more interested in other people and can actually feel them, and then the urge to flirt just emerges, and then you have to be a little bit willing to make a fool out of yourself and try things and play.
What have been some examples of your favorite flirting?
Well, we were laughing about this earlier because her flirting, you'll talk about yours, but we're different. Surprise, surprise. Me and Maya are different. I am partial. I'm quite partial to what I call British flirting. But it does not have to be only British people who do it. It's just a type of flirting where, remember in the beginning of the talk, I described how you have to be aware of at least two levels. And on this one, you're communicating one thing, while on this one, you're communicating something different than that. Like, and specifically, it's like you're saying, you could be like, oh, can I get that door for you? Because someone's about to walk out at the same time as you. Can I get that door for you? Or you could even just open the door for them without even words. But you could do it in a way that's like kind of formal business, like, here you are, person, other human being. Have a good day. Or you could kind of sweep it open and sort of look at them, like so on the surface, you're literally opening a door for someone. Underneath, you could put all kinds of things in there, right? So British flirting to me is when the difference is extreme. I like when the difference is really extreme. I like when the top layer is like deadpan and the bottom layer is like outrageous. Like, I like when someone's like, would you like, when someone's like, I made you a cup of tea. and on top you're like, oh, they made something for me, but underneath and the way they look at you, it's like ridiculous. Like they're not smiling, their facial expression doesn't give anything away. Maybe there's a tiny sparkle in their eye or they hold your eye contact for longer, but otherwise on the surface they're totally chill. And then underneath you're just like the blush rises from your genitals all the way to the through your face to your scalp kind of feeling, where you're just like, they may as well just have asked me to strip. Like that's how much sensation is underneath, but on top it's like totally chill.
And so it was really interesting, and I think it'd be cool everyone to think about how you like to flirt, because I think that what this shows is that flirting really is about desire. And I think in many cases it's how good are you at rising the desire in the other person? And then to do that, you have to have attention on that person uniquely and what turns the heat up in that unique person's body. Because that's how Aubrey likes. I'll like a good British flirt.
I'll take that.
I'll take a good British flirt. But I was really thinking about it because it's also been different over my life, because when I was younger, when I was in my early 20s, one of the things that I liked more than anything was surprises. And so I literally on my dating profiles when I was 20, I would give people a menu of how to engage with me. I'd say you could do this, this, or this. And then one of them was plan a surprise date for us, give me an address, give me a time, and tell me nothing about it until we show up. And to be able to see someone's entire creative prowess, to have that feeling of the rush of arousal at not knowing what was about to happen, that inherent kind of vulnerability and risk feeling of where are they taking me? What will they do? Will it totally suck? Even that is hot, like that feeling of like, oh, am I gonna like it or not? I don't even know. But like that whole feeling, that I loved that so much. And I loved just like the drama, like it was really like a big drama. And now I'm like, I still in concept like that, but I'm like, I don't got time for that anymore. And now, and so my desires now are a lot more subtle and a lot more simple in the sense of, I like really quiet, really intimate connection, really, direct connection. I don't like to go out very much. I just like to come in and all of these things. And so then how I like flirting now is much more subtle and much more simple and much more, how does somebody pay a certain quality of attention to something that I'd like and demonstrating it, and if they heard me just offhandedly say something and then I find it on my desk, and I don't even necessarily know who it's from, but I said it to them. And so that, and still the element of surprise and the element of that delight, but in that really kind of subtle way now. And so for me, yeah, a lot of it is that demonstration of attention that then brings a certain level of delight or brings a certain level of intimacy. And then I think also it's like being the thing that I think in flirting overall that brings heat is some kind of playing with a woman's desire where you go just a little bit maybe beyond what she thinks is appropriate. And it's not about being inappropriate, it's about a level of her ability to actually receive. And if you play with that line in just an exquisite way of where she would short order, she would say something just a little, she would say, oh, I don't want to bother you, I don't want to inconvenience you, I'm going to ask for something a little bit lower. And where someone would offer something just a little bit higher or lower, like either teasing her for being that way or delivering something even hotter than she had asked for unexpectedly. And I think all of that and playing with that tension and playing with how you sense desire in another person and how that is. I'm trying to think with men, like for a woman flirting, because it's such to me, it's just like a wildly different animal, a man flirting with a woman and a woman flirting with a man. Because a woman flirting with a man, in some ways, is just like,
Right. Yeah.
can she just turn, does she even have the comfort and access within herself to turn on? Because a woman just being turned on, that alone, period, you don't say anything, you're just turned on, that's flirting,
Exactly.
to a world that is so absent of Eros. And and I think in many ways, when I,
Women's is like, it's like it's like the generosity of just holding her system open
yeah,
and being honest in the moment.
yeah, and that feeling of feeding the world around you, is kind of what flirting feels like. I mean, I'm trying to think of if there's like any other circumstances of how people like to be, if some people like to be flirted by being chastised or something like
Oh,
that.
definitely.
But I think just as a baseline for women, to the thing I would say to all women is open your desire, hold your desire, and really, really expect that your desire could be met on every level, and walk into the world in that way. And I think all of life gets changed by women who do that. And there's just a overall air of Eros with any woman who walks that way.
That's beautiful. I really love that.
um,
I was like, we have to make a video demonstrating all of these, and I was like picturing all of it for some reason. I think because the way you talk about it, this is probably because you're Italian and have so much, I enjoy you around food so much. But I kept picturing all of these methods of flirting in different styles and ways illustrated through how two people might place their order at a restaurant together. And, like he's getting a burger and fries and a milkshake. She's like, I'll have a salad. He's like, are you sure you don't just want a water? Like that would be the teasing one.
yeah.
Or he nods and then the waitress comes and he says, we're both gonna get a burger, fries, and a shake. And she's like, ah.
It's like he's remembered something she has at one point said that she and really loved at this restaurant, and he brings that up, or he orders it. He like excuses himself to the bathroom and orders it for her, something.
Right. There's so much, yeah. I mean, it's endless.
And yeah, I keep thinking, I don't know if there's more to talk about this, but I just keep thinking about the difference between men and women and how different it is, and how for me, I know like to flirt with men in this time almost feels sad because they don't believe it when you flirt. Like if you give too much,
Yeah.
if you're too open, if you give too much, they're just like, this is a catfish. This is not real.
And you're like, oh my God, you've been through it, my guy.
And so really this feeling of how you work with flirting in this time of that, just kind of like opening in a measured way to say like, no, I would love you to have this little piece right here. And it's so fun to just feel then the delight and the enjoyment of a man to receive that. A friend of ours, said that like, though it's so bad out there, it's like a woman can give a man a smile and it lasts him through the Olympics. Because it's just so rough, and that, on the one hand, I love that quality and that heart of a man that would take a little morsel and then just sustain for as long as they can on that. But then that sadness of like, we're not even at the level of the true art of what flirting could be and how deep within intimacy you can go, like how deeply you can know somebody at that level of subtlety and that level of attention, and how off script it takes us. Because the whole thing of flirting is that it's all improvisational. And so you have to be so present, you have to go so off script, and so access so many different parts of yourself, and then learn different parts of them to see where each of this moment is going to take us. And we don't know, and it's so intimate, and it takes you to so many places that if you're just like, okay, well, let's just go on a date at a restaurant, which is not bad. There's nothing inherently bad, but it just immediately goes to what's known instead of an experience that can dip into something completely unknown.
Yeah, really beautiful. Whew, maybe one of these days, this is an incendiary topic, but maybe one of these days we'll talk about women's relationship to their hunger and the specific impact us starving ourselves of our hunger and then starving men of their hunger has on the world.
I mean, this whole
off.
podcast could kind of be just subtitled incendiary topics. I love that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that is the Eros Revolution talk for today. The lost art of flirting and how we reclaim it for the world. Thank you for joining.